my name is Sydney, and welcome back to my channel. Long time no see, besides all of the content I've been posting for my podcast. It is time that I brought my booktube back from the dead. I have missed her so. As a media girly, I don't know why I ever neglected her. Shame on me, other than post like twice a year. Today, I am going to be going through my top 10 books of 2025. So my reading goal this year was 30, and I read 33, which tracks because my reading goal last year was 50, and I read 53. I always read at least 3 over the goal. And the reason I pared it down so much this year was because I was trying to land an agent this year, which I did. Yay! But because of that, I was heavily revising. I was going through the mental health woes of querying and going on submission. But also I was finishing / writing another book. I was a very busy gal. And I was starting a podcast. Duh! Forgot about that. I still persisted. I still read past my reading goal. And let me tell you, at least 50% of the books that I read were 5-star reads. I had a very good selection this year. Very proud of that. So paring it down to my top 10, technically 12 if you count my honorable mentions, was very difficult. But I can't wait to tell you about them. By the way, if you know that I read your favorite book this year and it doesn't make this list, please don't hate me. It's just subjective. And I loved all, if not most, or, most, if not all, of the books that I read this year. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, I have 2 honorable mentions for you guys. So first up, our honorable mention and technically our 12th place finisher is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This book gave Taylor Jenkins Reid in the best possible way. And if you know me, you know that I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. That is the woman who wrote Atmosphere, Daisy Jones and the Six, and specifically The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book specifically touched on the same familiar vibes of Evelyn Hugo with this sort of biography of this famous person who, well, she used to be famous and now she's an old recluse and she's very elusive and she's very non-trusting with her personal stories. But there is someone who wants the job of being the writer of this celebrity memoir. Her name is Alice. Alice is technically competing for the role against this other writer. And of course there's forced proximity type romance brewing. I don't even want to say brewing because it sounds steamy. This romance was not steamy, but this romance was very tender, very slow burn. Tender is actually probably the best word I can use to describe this book on all grounds, not just the romance. So I absolutely loved this. Does it beat Happy Place for me? No. Happy Place still reigns supreme as my favorite Emily Henry book, but I still need to read People We Met on Vacation before the movie comes out in January, so only time will tell. But yes, 12th place, honorable mention, we love her. Go read this book. I read it on audio and it was fabulous. 11th place, honorable mention. This is not the last time you will see this author on my list, and this book is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I immediately scooped this book up as soon as it came out, obviously, because I have the discontinued water sprayed edges. I'm probably on your Rob list now. That's okay. No, it's not. Do not come to my town. Do not come to my house. This book was so fun. I was low-key nervous to get into this book because it was less academia. In fact, I don't even know if it was academia. It's been a while. My reading comprehension is not the brightest after a few months. But I was nervous because a lot of this was hinging on the marketing surrounding intro to BDSM, and that almost made me didn't read the book because I love a good spicy book. I do. But I prefer emotional depth. And so when it was all just about the mechanics of that and introducing it in a well-written way, I was like, okay, but do they like each other? Is there yearning? Is there angst? Because otherwise I'm not going to read it. And I'm so glad that my book club picked this book because I knew that my book club would be a safe place for me to be a hater if I didn't like it, if I was uncomfortable, if I DNF'd it. But no siree, it was 5 stars. It was so good. The banter, the dialogue, the text messages and emails. I think about some of the quotes, the way that they would speak to each other when you could tell they were starting to reciprocate these feelings that they weren't talking about. Oh, so good. So good. Miss Hazelwood. You can do no wrong. And the cameos of past characters, love. Okay, you guys, we have cracked the top 10. Let's get into it. Top 10. Number 10 is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. You guys, this is my first Ashley Poston book. I have not read The 7-Year Slip. I have not read The Dead Romantics. And there's another one, A Novel Love Story. I have not read those yet, but if you don't know anything about me, books about writers and books about musicians will do it for me every single time without fail. And so I was absolutely ecstatic to hear about this book. It is a romance set in the coastal Carolinas over the summer. And after this like chance meeting that like is not all sunshine and rainbows between this songwriter named Joni and this former boy band star, Sebastian, somehow they end up tethered in each other's minds. So she can hear him think and he can hear her think. And so they're kind of fated to write a song together and they don't understand why. And they're hoping that when they write the song and they finish it, they will finally be able to like get out of each other's heads. This book was everything to me. I will say, trigger warning if needed. The main character's mother is dealing with early onset dementia. So if that's something that's a little too close to home for you, maybe spare yourself or like prepare yourself accordingly before you go in. But the reason this cracks the top 10 additionally is Ashley actually wrote, or at least co-wrote, the love song that is written in this book. And they actually produced it and you can listen to it on, I think, Spotify. I've downloaded it on Apple Music. You guys, the song is adorable. Now, please don't listen to the song until you finish the book. It's darling. Like, I unironically play that song in my car all the freaking time. It was the perfect summer read. I went to her tour stop for this. I sat front row. I got to meet her. She is lovely. Okay, you guys, coming in hot at number 9 is a book that I actually don't have a physical copy of, and that is For the Record by Emma Lord. This book was, again, so meant for me. I was the target audience of this book. Again, books about musicians. This book was about 2 musicians in their own rights that were like rivals on stage with their different bands. One was part of a girl group and one was part of a band. And they've kind of had this like on stage, like not showmance, but like kind of teasing at it. But there's been this like band rivalry between the 2 groups. And to revive both of their music careers that are like basically about to be DOA, they agree to write an album together as a duo. And the mutual pining and again, just like creating all these memories and moments together so that they could like instigate like songwriting and like writing prompts. It was everything to me. I swear to you, I'm putting it in this video right now for accountability and proof. One of these days, I am going to write my own songwriting book about musicians book. It's going to happen. I will write a fictitious EP or a fictitious album. I already have an idea for it, but until the market moves a little more towards music again, I'm going to have to sit on it for a little bit, but it's real. It's happening. Also, I cannot believe this is the first Emma Lord book I've ever read. I almost said her discography. Her catalog is so impressive and just so funny. I don't know which one I'm going to do next, but she's high on my priority list for 2026. Okay, everybody, coming in at number 8, we have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. And if you know me personally, you will know how hard I bawled my eyes out to this book. And I was not expecting it in the least. I remember seeing this on like its own table in Barnes & Noble and being like, that cover is so beautiful. At least in 2025, there were so many illustrated covers, all beautiful, by the way. But in a sea of illustrated covers, looking at a typography cover, I was like, give it to me now. But also the pitch line alone, or the log line, subtext, whatever it's called. They loved each other in 1,000 lifetimes. They've killed each other in every one. Hello? What do you mean? Why? How? Immediately it pulls you in. It keeps you guessing. I remember reading the prologue and the twist in the prologue. I was like, I have to read this right now. I have to sit down and read this now. I am a slow reader. I think I read this in 3 days. I had so much to say at book club when it came time. I am a defender of this book. And she also writes adult books. So she has a book called Silver Cloak, and I managed to find the one signed copy of it in Barnes and Noble. I think one of the booksellers was like hiding it and hoping that nobody would find it, and I did. So she was clearly pissed when she was checking me out at the register. But yeah, I can't wait to read Silver Cloak. This was so good. I recommend it for anybody who's on the fence about it. It will absolutely just gut you like a fish. Okay, coming in at number 7, I told you that this author would be back, and it's another Ali Hazelwood, and you're gonna be shocked to hear which book it is. That is Not in Love. Okay, before anybody comes for me and is like, girl, that's not even her best one, I'm gonna need you to shut up. This is the dark horse of her catalog, and I could give a TED talk on it. I read the premise, and again, she writes a lot of academia, specifically women in STEM, and I have time and time and again learned that I could know nothing about the scientific industry that she's speaking of, and she paints it for me so well that I feel like I understand. And as an arts girly, that's kind of impressive because I don't know concept of math or science, engineering, none of that. After reading a lot of, I think it was biology in the other ones and like chemistry, going into food science, I was a little nervous. I was like, how am I going to be able to understand the gravity of what they're researching, the problems that could occur. But also, I cannot stand situationships sometimes, which, like, again, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, especially when the woman is like I don't know if I like the word aggressor, but the one that's stubborn. The one that is stubborn in the relationship is a better way to phrase it. I thought I was going to positively loathe Rue this entire book. And you know what? Even though I didn't relate to her a single bit, I got her. I actually empathized with her. And Ali does such a good job of that. Somebody who I do not share experiences with, I sympathize with them so deeply. And also, I know people have mixed feelings about Eli. I loved him. Spectacular, give me 14 of them. Eli was great. With how much I loved this book, can you imagine how thrilled I was when I read the blurb for Problematic Summer Romance? Need I say more? Okay, you guys, coming in at number 6. I'm probably going to get stoned for saying that it's not even in my top 5, but hear me out. It's Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Please don't kill me. You guys, this book was 6 out of 5 stars. Easily. Like, it was so fabulous. The reason it's not in my top 5 is because, one, positively devastating. This book will cause the worst possible reading slump ever. 0 out of 10 recommend that kind of reading slump I was stuck in for like a month or 2. But 2, unlike The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, we already knew how this book was going to end. We were just getting all of the nitty-gritty up close detail. And it was so sad. However, is this movie going to eat down? Yes. This movie, I don't care if I have to take off work. I don't care if I have the stomach flu. I don't care what is going on in my life. My butt is going to be in that theater before all of you people record it on your phone and post it on TikTok. These people who do that with movies or TV or anything, absolute bane of my existence. You're spoiling my watching experience for clout? GTF. Oh my God. I cannot stand people like that. Immediately blocked. Immediately blocked. I would drag you to hell if I could. I hate those people. Don't be that person. For views, that's a joke. Anyways, I'm going to be sat in the movie theater. It's going to be awesome. And I'm going to cry horrendously. I think about the way I was as a 14-year-old girl in the theater for The Fault in Our Stars. I was absolutely inconsolable. I was quite literally like rocking in my movie chair trying to soothe myself, and it didn't work. This is going to be the like reincarnated version of that, I fear. But yeah, great book. If you like pain, you're gonna love this one. And also, if you haven't read this one and you love The Hunger Games, what are you doing? I'm talking to my husband who is producing this right now. What are you doing? Get the audiobook. Okay, you guys, on a much lighter note, my number 5 pick is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. You guys, not only is this book pure sunshine, the author herself, Hannah Bonham Young, she is pure sunshine. I had no qualms, no complaints. It was the joy of my life. I don't think I've ever read a more Hufflepuff book in my existence, and I ate it up. Massive shout out to my friend Emma, who had been relentlessly recommending this book to anybody she could. Last year, so 2024, our book club did a blind date with a book exchange. And when I tell you, she wrapped this book to the nines. She wanted to make it as appealing as possible. And I'm pretty sure that it got stolen enough times to where it like froze in like whoever stole it last. This was a well sought after book to the point where I had to read it almost immediately. Fun fact, I actually read Out of the Woods first, and then I went to this. Do I recommend that order? Honestly, yeah, kind of. I read the other book, Out of the Woods, because I learned that it was a marriage in crisis book. And as a married person, I'm happily married, but as a married person, I feel like we don't get a lot of married couple romances because a lot of people think that, oh, well, you got married, so your romance is dead. Pardon? Marriage is not the end. I feel like in my marriage, there have been more romantic encounters and gestures than when we weren't married or like before we were married. And I just loved this book. I just loved this book. I loved Out of the Woods because of like the personal ties. I obviously have never been pregnant or accidentally pregnant like this. I'd read it again. Honestly, it was so tender, so heartfelt. Loved her. 10 out of 10. Coming in at number 4, you guys, I could rave about this book for the rest of my existence. I loved this book so much that I actually got a special edition of it. And if you know me, I don't typically spend money on special edition books. Like, I don't have a Fairy Loot collection. I don't have a book box subscription of any kind. Even though I love books, I love pretty books. I loved this book so much that I had to get one that was nicer than my copy that I got from the secondhand shop. And that is Raiders of the Lost Heart by Jo Segura. I got to meet her at the very beginning of last year, like early January. Me and a friend of mine, we drove from Dallas down to Georgetown to see her, Allie Hazelwood, and another author named Kayla Olson. They were doing like a joint book tour stop at Larkin Owl, and we got to sit front row and see her and, you know, see all of them. But she was just so like frank and so like blunt funny. I just really resonated with her. And I think me and my husband had either beforehand, like a couple months beforehand, or like immediately after I learned about this book, we watched 2 of the Indiana Jones movies. And I was like, I have to try this book out. I have to do it. And so this book follows a female archaeologist, and she is stuck on this big, for her career, archaeological dig with somewhat of a rival she had in grad school, but there were like feelings that weren't communicated, but now they like don't like each other, and there's somebody is screwing with the expedition, so there's a little bit of a mystery. I hate to say it, you guys. Chief of the hot blonde man community, besides Aaron Warner Anderson, okay, I'm not gonna like dethrone our king, but you guys, if you love a hot blonde male main character, because I know that they're getting their day in the sun, including golden retriever men, this is the book for you. Nobody talks about it, and it actually pains me. She has another book in this like Indiana Jones adventure rom-com series, Temple of Swoon. You see where I'm going here? There's Indiana Jones puns. And her third and final book in the series is called The Lust Crusade, and it's coming out this year. I'm so excited. I'm going to be the most obnoxious person when it releases. So yes, I loved this book so much. The end of this book, though, my brain could not tell the difference between reading the end of the book and having a knife pushed into my sternum, genuinely. And I mean that affectionately. Please go read this book. Okay, you guys, we're in our top 3, and when I tell you I've spent more than 30 minutes today trying to justify which should be in 3rd place and which should be in 2nd place, so I'm going to go ahead and say that this is my 3rd place book, and if I'm wrong, you will see the edits shifted around. So, number 3, we've got The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is my first Rachel Gillig book. I have not read One Dark Window or Two Twisted Crowns yet, but again, a book club pick. Book club genuinely knows what's up. Book club manages to pick some of my favorite books of the year / ever. I was a little nervous because we picked this for I think it was our June or July pick, or August, something in like the dead heat of summer in Texas. And something about me is I'm a mood reader. I read based off of vibes. And so normally I don't read any romantasy or fantasy in the summer months. I live in Texas. It's too hot. It's not giving romantasy. It's not giving medieval castle running around in dresses. It's just not. That's what the fall and the winter is for. So I was hesitant. I tried reading it on paper at first, couldn't get into it. And so I tried the audiobook. The audiobook was cinematic. The audiobook was everything I needed and didn't realize I needed nor wanted. It was freaking fabulous. I absolutely adored the audiobook. The narrator did a fabulous job, including with the gargoyle. Are you freaking kidding me? I love the gargoyle. Also, I hate to say it, you guys, I'm like actually checking my other books to make sure that I'm not perjuring myself as if this is the stand in court. This man, Roderick Mendacious, book boyfriend of the year. I freaking said it. I freaking said it, and I said it with my chest. Book boyfriend of the year for Sydney Applegate. It was positively unexpected, especially because this man's got guy liner. This man wears coal around his eyes every day. Emo boy. He's an emo boy. He was smoking like a medieval doobie, all the time. Was it Mirthwood? Whatever it was called. He was a smoker. He was an emo boy, and I loved him. I loved every single time he was on the page. He was a smartass. He was great. He was a really good balance for our female main character, for Sybil. Also, I just realized I haven't said anything about the book besides this man, so let me try again. The Knight and the Moth follows a woman who is a diviner, and that basically means that she and her 5 other sisters live in this cathedral, and for a sum of money, people can come and visit them, and these women will be drowned in a well, and after they have drowned, they will see these prophetic visions in 5 stages of omens. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 6, but they see these different symbols of like good or bad luck, and they divine what that means for this person's future. They're essentially like medieval fortune tellers, but in a very different, more like Catholic leaning way. The imagery is religious, but it's not religion entirely. And so these diviners have always wanted to leave the cathedral. They've wanted to learn more about their life. And suddenly the diviners start disappearing one by one. And Sybil, who is also known as Six, she wants to figure out what is happening to her sisters, if she can recover them, if she can save them, what's going on. And she teams up with one of the king's knights to figure out what's going on. They strike up a very interesting bargain. But of course, what they didn't bargain for was love. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my terrible explanation of this book, but by far the scene stealer of this book is the side character, who is this enchanted gargoyle who calls everybody Bartholomew. Especially if you listen to the audiobook, he is hilarious. He is everything to me. I will protect him with my life. I know I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but I absolutely adore this book. I cannot wait for The Knave and the Moon to come out. I will be absolutely in shambles when it's over. Okay, you guys, coming in at number 2, Silver Medal. You're going to be shocked. I bet you were thinking this was going to be my number 1 because I've talked about it relentlessly, both like in my personal life and on the podcast. And that is If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden. I feel like I talk about this book non-stop. I was 10 toes down on believing that this was going to be my number 1 book of the year, but we had a late front runner that came in and just like edged her out real quick. But the reason that this book is so high on my list, even though, again, my reading comprehension is slack after a while, I just remember how much fun I had. I remember immediately downloading every single Hosier album or single as soon as this book was over, because if you didn't know, this book is loosely inspired by Hosier himself. In the book, his name is Halloran. So we see the blueprint, we see the vision, and you know what? I ate it up. I'm starting to really come around to a rock star romance if it's done well, and this follows Halloran. He's a singer, and Clementine Clark is a last-minute backup vocalist that gets put on his 2nd international tour. Also, she's from a small town in Texas, so I was like, hey, yo, Texas! books. It was so good. And I'm looking at this blurb from Allie Hazelwood, and she absolutely nailed it. It says, sensual, poetic, and full of delicious, excruciating yearning. That was the immediate sell for me. You're telling me that somebody who is modeled after Hosier is going to yearn for 300 plus pages? I will pay for this book in blood if you ask me to. Also, I've said this before, but I will say it again. This book on page 1, okay? The first page, I knew that this was going to be 5 stars. I've never gotten 5-star tingles from a book that early on. In fact, I feel like close to the first sentence, maybe even the first paragraph, I was like, this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year, because the way that Kate writes this contemporary is so contemporary. I feel like a lot of times when I read contemporary romance, if I don't latch onto the fact that it sounds like them instead of it sounds like the author, if that makes any sense, kind of pulls me out a little bit, especially if I already have preconceived notions about the author. If I know how the author speaks, if I know what their voice sounds like, and then I read a book that they wrote and I'm like, oh, I definitely hear this person in this character. It's a little difficult for me, but this is my first Kate Golden book. I know relatively nothing about her personally. I don't think I've ever heard her speak whatsoever. And so when I started reading this book, also, I read this on paper, not on audiobook, which is kind of wild. I read a lot of audiobooks this year. I could picture what the voice would sound like in my head, and everything just clicked for me. This book was so fun, so entertaining. Again, books about musicians, books about songwriting, absolutely everything to me. It is my love language. Okay, you guys, we're here. Number 1, first place. I didn't think anything was going to dethrone, if not for my baby. And I stood corrected when I picked up Nightshade by Autumn Woods. You guys, I am so obsessed with the fact that an indie book made my number 1 spot. I know that I'm trying to go trad in my own author journey, but I will have always started as an indie, and I have a special place for indie books. I have a goal to read more indie books this year. And while this is now trad published, it started as indie and it just did so well for obvious reasons that it got picked up. And I'm so glad it did. I was so hesitant to start this book for months. I was nervous. I don't want to say that I was believing it was overhyped, but I just didn't think I was going to be the target audience. I'm not much of like a mafia adjacent reader at all. And it's more so, it's not that there's a mafia plot, but there's like kids that are related to mafia key players. This was dark, it was eerie, it was mysterious. It was like the vibes were Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Everything was like foggy and spooky, and something wicked was in the air. And I read it in October, like late October into November. Do you know how much fun this book is to read it in like the right seasonal timeline? So good. And like the crosswords and the emails that they would send to each other. Oh, it was so good. I loved this book. And no, I did not piece together the mystery. Also, trigger warning, it's a freaking cliffhanger. She even put it in like the author's note or like at the very beginning of the book. And I was like, oh, it's a cliffhanger. It's not going to be that bad. You know, it's going to be like, oh my. And then I'll move on with my day. No, when I got to the end and it was like, to be continued, ... I was like, how about I come find where you live and I throw down with you, because what do you mean? She warned us. She warned us. And I was still pressed in a great way. It was so good. Low key would read it again. I might reread it before Daybreak comes out. Also, the cover of Daybreak just came out. It's stunning. And it's coming out the day after my birthday. I'm so excited. It's like she has a present just for me. But also it makes me a little nauseous to think that I won't be able to know what happens between Alex Corbo Green and Ophelia Winters until I am 26 years old. Ew, don't like that at all. Also, this and Our Infinite Fates were the only books this year that I was brave enough to tab. If that doesn't tell you how much I liked it, I don't know what does. Well, you guys, that is my top 10, technically 12, books of 2025. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was so fun to kind of debrief with you guys. I am so excited for everything that is on my want to read list for 2026. I'm hoping to up my goal, but also I hope to write 2 books of my own this year, maybe, fingers crossed. So we'll see what it comes down to. I am going to try and also read more in paper, read more indies in 2026. So if you guys have any book recommendations that you think I will positively geek out over in the new year, please leave them in my comments. My DMs are always open. Let me know what they are. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next one. Dominoes! Dominoes! Oh!